Hi, my name is Colton Hatch, and I chose to do my analysis on the movie Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. The director is Jake Kasdan. Cinematographer is Gyula Pados. This was released in 2017, and some of the stars are Dwayne Johnson, Jack Black, Kevin Hart, and Nick Jonas. The feelings that I get from this movie, I think it's hilarious. I feel like the actors fit the roles perfectly. It seems less spooky than the first Jumanji movie. The composition is very professional, and the action is intense. So as for positives, lighting and color. What you could see a lot throughout the movie is there's lots of green, and the colors are usually full and bright. Green is the color of nature, and it symbolizes harmony. So that makes sense because there's these four kids who aren't really friends that come together to work together. Uh, as for the camera angle, you see a lot of pans and tilts, and those are used to follow action. As one example is the scene where Dwayne Johnson throws up the enemy, which shows dominance and power, and close-ups. They show what's important, and in this part, what's important is the game itself, and so it objectifies what the movie's title is, and in this scene, it creates an intense and anxious feeling. Close-ups. So, in this specific close-up, this is when they first arrive in the jungle, and this was a good use because they're confused and they're curious, so they're looking around. You can definitely see that through their facial expressions. Mice and scene. So the composition of the elements in this specific scene was done very well. It definitely brings you into the feeling of the jungle and the so the scenery, it sets the location and time, like not time of day, but like what time of era they're in, and the clothing and objects also support that. In the editing, primarily what is used are just jump cuts, which jump between each character, usually just facing their face, because there's four of them that they have to go through to show their expressions in each scene. One This happens multiple times. So one noticeable one of a J cut happens when the four main characters meet the fifth main character, and he is talking while the scene has already changed. Movement. So there's a lot of dolly-like movement where there are chases and such, and in this specific scene, they're being chased by rhinos in a helicopter, and so the camera is also shaky, which adds to the suspense of this scene. A lot of the sound throughout the entire movie is pretty much done perfectly. Each scene that has an emotional change or call to action has some kind of background music that intensifies it. Uh, Same thing seen here. Acting, my favorite acting I think was done by Jack Black. He plays a teen girl, and his facial expressions and body movements and voice are all spot on. He sounds like a teen girl. The story, it has a complex plot, and the protagonists experience change within themselves. That can be seen at the end of the movie when these four strangers are all now friends. Some of the important negatives. So there are a lot of camera angles that show like eye level, and I don't think this is a very good use because a lot of these are in situations where one person holds more power or seems dangerous, so the angle should be from a lower point of view for those. And this is another example of the angle being wrongly done. This character is being cornered, and he's radiating awkward energy in this scene, yet the camera angle stays level with him, making him level with the rest of the people. The continuity. So one one thing with the continuity that I didn't really like was the fact that when they were all pulled into the game, they were pulled in at different times, and when they were placed into the game, when they showed up, those times aren't the same amount of time as what was done for putting them into the game. Another thing that I didn't really like was the fact that once they were all together and they knew what they kind of wanted to do, it just immediately showed the next scene where they were at this city, and the time of day doesn't appear to change, so it makes you wonder how they got there and how far away it was and how they knew where it was. Movement. Something that I saw, which was kind of bad, was the fact that they were moving initially from right to left in the scene, and it shows many shots of that, and then all of a sudden they're moving left to right, which disrupts the movement flow. One of the actings that I didn't like was the scene where they had to break in and steal a helicopter at this building. So one of the girls, the main actor girl, had to distract the guards, and the guards acted very non-responsive, and it's different from the rest of the characters that are similar throughout the movie, because they're more responsive and they seem like real people, while these guards don't really seem like they're real. The story, part of the story I didn't like was that the antagonist was never really seen throughout the story. He's only really interacted with by the main characters at the end of the story. And as for something that I would change or do differently was I would make it feel more like a real game. Something they did to do that happened once at the beginning, where they included a cutscene, but they only did it once. And I think if they used some more cutscenes throughout the movie, it could have been more game-like. So overall, Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle is a very well-composed film. Actors fit their characters almost perfectly, and their representations of those characters are spot on. A large majority of scenes are just in the jungle, so mice and scene isn't a major part to this film's success. The true success comes from the consistency in most of its aspects. Light and color is represented properly, and camera angles and movements really enhance the scenes. Time and space continuity has a couple issues, but nothing major enough to change the quality or consistency of the story. Sound plays a major role in the success as well. Almost all scenes that have a change in emotion or determination also have a high-quality cinematic music to back it up. As for the story overall, it was well done, but not perfect. It follows the mimesis style of telling the story by experiencing it. The only thing I didn't like too much was the lack of interaction between the antagonists and the protagonists.